Hello, everyone. It's Debbie Corso from Healing from DPD.org and also DBTpath.net. Thank you for joining me here today for this very impromptu Google Hangouts. It's actually my first time ever doing a Google Hangout. I actually went to a webinar earlier today to learn how to do them, and I thought today would be a good day to start and give it a try because I just made an announcement about my new online DBT class, and I got lots of questions, so I thought it would be more efficient to just answer them here. But I'm also going to answer questions about DBT in general and about my experience with borderline personality disorder and how DBT actually helped me to overcome and no longer have borderline personality disorder. And this is very impromptu and last minute, like I said, so I'm not sure how many people are going to show up. Fortunately, it will record. Let me just make sure I have the little Q&A thing here going so that I can see questions if they come in. So I just opened the little Q&A app, so if you have any questions that come up for you as we go through this, just type them in there. Hopefully you can see that box. In fact, can you guys see the box? And if you can, just type in yes, or let me know if you can hear me. I'm wondering if everything's working. Okay, there might be an issue with people being able to actually see and hear. So at any time, if you want to type a question or anything into that Q&A chat box, just do so and I'll be able to answer that for you. So a little bit about myself as we get started. My name is Debbie, and for most of my life, basically, I have been dealing with emotional instability, and I never really knew what it was. And hello, I never really knew what it was, and I had been misdiagnosed at times too as being bipolar rapid cycling. But what it turned out to be is that I actually had borderline personality disorder, or BPD. And once I found out that that's actually what was going on with me, it really changed my world in a lot of ways. I would say I was horrified on the one hand, and I was very excited on the other hand, because I felt that, and it was true, once I actually knew what was going on with me, when I had the proper diagnosis, then I was able to actually go out and get the right kind of help and learn what I needed to learn to actually get well. And because I had read books right after my diagnosis, such as Kara Van Gelder's The Buddha and the Borderline, and Kara is now a friend, which is really awesome, I knew that there was hope of actually overcoming this BPD. So BPD is no longer considered a psychiatric death sentence, which it was at one point. And unfortunately, still, some clinicians and professionals still think that. They find it, very difficult to work with clients like us who have the types of symptoms that people with borderline personality disorder typically suffer from. And although I don't meet the criteria anymore, and I actually do not have technically borderline personality disorder anymore, I have borderline traits, which means that I still have some of the criteria. So I totally understand that. And I think there are a lot of clinicians out there that, because they don't have a really deep and good understanding of what it means to be extremely emotionally sensitive and to have the symptoms of BPD or to have borderline traits, don't know how to deal with us. They might give up too easily, or they just may feel really stressed out because they don't know how to reach us. And I think that's why this whole uprising of peer support and peer teaching and all of this stuff from people like myself who are in recovery is turning out to be really effective, is because we do get it. So I've been on the other side. I've been in and out of psychiatric hospitalizations. I've been put on tons of different meds that didn't work. I've been through not being able to keep a job, relationship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to get my life together, to put it together and pick up the pieces, figure out who I am, develop and establish a sense of identity, which I didn't have, and which was a big issue for me pre-diagnosis. To be able to sit here and talk to you from the other side of the table right now while actually holding your hand as I feel like I do virtually in my classes with my students, going through what I learned to help you. So yeah, as with this being very impromptu, I don't have a script or anything, so I'm kind of winging it here. So a couple of years ago is when I was officially diagnosed with DBT. So I got a name, I got a label for the set of symptoms that I was suffering from. And I started in a program called Dialectical Behavior Therapy, or DBT for short. And this program changed my life and actually saved it in a lot of ways. And it's why I do what I do now. So I'll just tell you a little bit about my experience with that. And I'm just going to take a look here and see what you guys are doing in the chat room, because as I said, this is my first time doing it. Hello, hi. Hello to those of you who are saying hi. Bear with me because I don't know what I'm doing on quite yet on Google Hangouts, so I'm learning as I go, which is the story of my life right now, as my current students know. So when I started in dialectical behavior therapy, I didn't know what it was. I had no clue or idea. I was at the point really where I was just excited that they actually had something specifically for what I was suffering from that they said could really help and have a major impact on my mental wellness. And now they use DBT in a lot of different areas of mental health, not just BPD, but it's really what it was originally put together for by Dr. Marshall Linehan, who's the creator. And yeah, so I started out these classes that I would go to, sometimes intensively, several times a week, sometimes just once a week, and started to learn skills from the 4 modules, which are distress tolerance, emotion regulation, interpersonal effectiveness, and mindfulness. And when I first started these classes, to be honest with you, I would read the content or hear what they were talking about and just kind of think, there's no way that this is going to help someone like me. Like, maybe this can help someone who's not as bad off as I am, whose mental health isn't as, far advanced, extreme as mine. Like, how is doing XYZ, things that seem like really simple, actually going to help me overcome something so serious like borderline personality disorder, was my thought. So while I'm having that thought, I'm also having the thought that I was pretty desperate and nothing else had worked, to address the issues that repeatedly kept coming up over and over in my life that I had to deal with. And it was at the point, sorry, I have to move my foot, I sprained my ankle. For those of you who know, I might have to wiggle around a little to deal with that during this. So basically, I had those 2 things going on in my mind. One was, I don't know if this is really something that can help someone like me, and the other thought was, I really need it to be something that can help someone like me because I'm desperate and I've tried out so many other things and have not gotten well, and would just keep finding myself maybe having, little periods of remission, I guess, where I would keep a job for several months, or I'd be able to maintain a friendship or a romantic relationship for a certain amount of time, and things would seem to be going just great, and then all of a sudden, seemingly, a trigger or a combination of triggers maybe would all happen at once, and I would get so derailed and so dysregulated emotionally that I would just literally, sabotage everything around myself and quit my job and destroy relationships and all kinds of like horrible things. And this would seem to happen like if I was lucky, I would go like every 5 or 6 months at the most before I would have an episode of, just totally freaking out and wrecking everything around me. So I don't know if you guys can relate to that, and I'm just going to check too in the Q&A box. Okay, I have a question from Chris that I will get to, and Chris, please remind me if I don't get to you in a minute. And I have a comment from Judy, who's on a waiting list, and it'll be 56 days for her, and she's needing a proper diagnosis and psychiatric care. And she says, is it advantageous to start DBT with one therapist and then later with a different one in a group? I have both diagnoses too. Well, you know, when I'm speaking to you guys, obviously I'm not a mental health professional in the sense that I'm not a therapist or anything like that or a doctor. So I can just give you my opinion based on that. And my opinion would, you know, you have to take it with a grain of salt and think about your own personal situation and weigh that and discuss it with your doctor and your own professional team, obviously. But for me, if you're ready for DBT and you have access to it, I would go ahead and get it, even if it means having to switch something, unless they discourage you from that at the original program you're going to, and they say, hey, you should hold off because it's going to be too disruptive or too upsetting for you to, you know, start one program and then switch to another. But if you have access to DBT and you can get into it, I'm really excited for you because that's not the case for a lot of people. So that's pretty cool that you have that coming up, Judy. Let's see. And someone who uses the name Meditation Guide says, I'm wondering if the new system will be on a pick a skill you want to learn about basis. Okay, so I'll talk about my program and the class later. We'll do a whole Q&A on the classes just so I can address just general questions about DBT and BBT initially, BPD and my story initially, and then we'll definitely talk about how the live classes will work for those of you who want to study with me. Excuse me. And let's see, Chris is asking, you can answer this whenever you want since I don't want to interrupt you. Thank you. He says, but how do you, is it, I can't see the tiny pic. I think it's a he, Chris. I think it's a Chris he, not a Chris G. Chris says, how often do you go back and relook at all the DBT skills? I'm at the point where I use them very passively, but no longer remember their names and such. Okay, excellent question. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to take a sip of my natural soda. So, DBT is basically in my blood, if you can put it that way. I live and breathe it because I became so absorbed into it. So getting back to the story real quick to answer your question, Chris. I decided to totally immerse myself in the program because for me it was kind of, it felt like a last shot, not to put it really dramatically, but it kind of felt that way, to where I wanted to learn these skills and do everything that I was taught to see if it really changed my life. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I had to give it my all, 100%, really do the skills, really do the homework, do everything they taught me, so that if it didn't work, I couldn't say, well, maybe if I had just made sure I did X, Y, Z, or if I had followed through on the homework, or if I had done what they said. I didn't want to leave any room for that. So I definitely went through, after a little bit of resistance the first month, I would say, and started to get to the point where I was actively, proactively, consciously doing everything that they were telling me to do and teaching me, and all of the things that I was learning, integrating all of those skills into my life. And what happened was, within 2 years' time, and this was a process, of course, all of the symptoms of BPD that I came into the program with, or I would say the majority of them, I still suffer from a couple of them, began to heal and began to transform. The biggest example I can give you is my sense of identity. I had no idea who I was. I had no consistent sense of self. So the example I give is that if I had a room full of friends who were, like, let's say, of the Democratic political persuasion, in the room with them, I would be totally convinced that I was a Democrat, and I'd be agreeing with everything that they said, and I'd be, you know, totally Democratic. And then if I went into the next room and it was filled with a bunch of friends who were of the Republican political persuasion, it wouldn't take but a few minutes before I would so easily be swayed and become a Republican, full on, wholehearted. And so I had no stable sense of self. So that's just an example, but imagine it happens with everything. all areas of my life in terms of interests and career path and relationships. It was a mess. And I didn't know, I had no idea that that had anything to do with a sense of identity until I learned that I had BPD and started doing DBT. By the end of the DBT program, when I was done, and now I have a really, really strong sense of self. And honestly, seriously, guys, I had no hope for that. When I discovered and realized and would describe myself, when I would have glimpses of what was going on with me, and I would describe myself to the psychiatrist and to the therapist and to my peers as a chameleon, like I tried to explain to them what I just explained to you, but it made a heck of a lot less sense when I was really, really in the midst of it and hadn't had much DBT training. And so it got the point across. But now, as I sit here talking to you, I'm very confident in who I am. I know who I am. I know what my likes and dislikes are. I know what my values are, and they're consistent across the board, no matter whose company I'm in. And before, I would just change and shift and shape shift and become, try to, I guess on a subconscious level, try to become just like the people around me, or become what I thought they wanted or needed me to be. And that one was more so, especially in romantic relationships. And what happens for a lot of us when we do that sort of thing is that there's this constant battle inside, because there's a part of us that knows that we have certain values inside and certain things that we believe and certain things that we agree with. And we're constantly trying to adapt ourselves to be accepted and loved and not rejected by other people, and becoming like them or what we think they want us to be in order to try to maintain relationships. But eventually, for me, it really just was my breaking point of driving me to where I felt crazy. And I told my doctor, here's where I'm at. Here's the point that I'm at. If I were in the room with all the people I know right now, I think I would explode, because I wouldn't know what to do or who to be. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but that's where I was. So I learned all of these skills. Here I am today talking to you as someone who's much more integrated, who knows who she is, right? And so, Chris, for me, I don't sit there and go through and look at all of the skills. It sounds to me what you're bringing up is something that I hear a lot from my students who have been practicing for a while now, which is that the same thing that I experienced. DBT becomes integrated into your daily life to the point where you don't have to go and open a book up all of the time, or open up a workbook, or get on the internet and look up the skill. You get to be where you're so in practice that it becomes more of a natural reaction and more of what you do automatically, right? So one of the main points in DBT, and this really helped me a lot because I had serious problems with being impulsive and just doing things and regretting it like 2 seconds later and it was too late, or regretting it, down the line and it was too late. But one of the things that you learn in DBT is to start putting a pause of space and time between when you have an initial urge or impulse to do something self-harm, self-destructive, self-sabotaging, and so on, and when you actually act on it. So you put a little buffer of time and space in between there, and then you go and you choose to practice one of the skills you've learned instead of doing the destructive behavior. So Chris, I don't know if you can relate to this, but as you learn and you continually practice doing this, it becomes more of a habit. So we're rewiring the neural pathways to go, instead from I'm impulsive, I'm going to send that nasty email, to I'm feeling impulsive, I want to send that nasty email, I'm going to use my DBT skill to go and do this instead. By the time you're done with whatever activity and skill you've decided to practice, that intensity level has gone down of the urge to send that email or whatever the impulsive behavior is. And you now have a new thing that your brain does, that when I feel that impulse, instead of jumping to that behavior immediately, I have something else now that's positive, that's healthy, that's constructive to turn to instead, and that's a DBT skill. And in the beginning, honestly, it's really hard because we've been acting the way we've been acting for how many years now? So you guys have to have compassion with yourself. You can't expect overnight to go from behaviors that are self-destructive, self-sabotaging, self-harming, to suddenly being 100% skillful all day long. Even Marsha Linehan isn't skillful all day long. I'm not skillful all day long. So it's something that comes with practice. But Chris, I hope I answered your question in terms of, is there ever a point where you're not looking at the skills? For me, there probably won't be, because I want to keep these skills integrated into my life for the rest of my life, because they've made a difference, they've impacted me, they've changed my life. So I'm not saying I'm going to sit there with the skills manual like every day, flipping through it and reading it for pleasure, but I will refer to it for sure. So let me go ahead and see if any other questions have come in. Hi, Mohammed. Okay. Chris says yes. Hi, Elizabeth. Okay. DBT, RJ, it stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy. Dialectical Behavior Therapy. RJ says, I'm on a waiting list for treatment center. Oh, so this was RJ? I'm sorry. I thought it was someone else earlier. So RJ, you're the one that's on the waiting list who I was addressing. I was actually addressing Judy, and it was your question. So hopefully you made that connection there. You must have. So Judy says, she also can relate to no sense of identity. I'm looking this way at the little chat box. She can also relate to no sense of identity. Same thing. I feel I'm always swayed with who I am talking with. So this was a major thing for me. So Judy, I just want to honestly, seriously encourage you about this, because this was one of the things, and I don't know if it's true for you too, that I just thought I was going to have to deal with for the rest of my life, is just being so easily swayed with every wind and every, different opinion, every strong personality that came around. Like, I honestly thought that I was just destined to that, along with all of the other emotional suffering and just constant like mood swings and, sabotaging everything around me. Honestly, I thought, because of, things that happened in the past when I was a child, and because of all of the decisions I've made, that was just my destiny, and I was going to have to live that way and just deal with it. And it's not true though. So if I could overcome it, that's why I have so much hope for you and so many other people, that you guys can overcome this too. It may seem impossible, and again, it's not going to happen overnight. This is a difficult illness, and it requires, proper psychiatric and psychological help. And for me, I got those things, and I learned the skills, and it's made all the difference. Hi, Erkan, and I see your little message there. Hope I'm saying your friend's name correctly. Let's see. Okay, so any questions about anything I've said so far about my personal walk, or just general questions about my experience with borderline personality disorder and overcoming it, or general questions about dialectical behavior therapy? And then we can go on and actually talk about the next piece that I want to talk to you guys about. So I'll give you a moment to see if anyone types a question in there. I think the next time I do this, I have to plan one out so that we get lots more people in here. This is what happens when you do something impromptu. It's just, you never know how many people are going to come. Fortunately, YouTube takes this, so my subscribers will be able to watch this later. Okay, so I don't see any questions specifically for me, and I just want to make sure that that's true before I move on. So going once, if you're in the middle of typing, just put the word typing so I know. Going twice? 3 times? Okay, so no questions specifically for me on my BPD, overcoming it, and DBT. All right. So excellent that you guys are, ready to start learning about this kind of stuff. I'm going to share my screen with you right now so that I can tell you, a lot of you came here today or are watching this video today after the fact because you're interested in the posts that I put up all over the place about the live DBT classes that I actually do with you guys to help you to overcome also. So I'm going to just go over that with you because I got so many questions that I figured this would be the more efficient thing to do, is just do a hangout and have a video too that people can refer to. So how do I do this? I'm going to try to share my screen with you. So okay, so this is the website where I have people sign up for my classes. That is a picture of me from a few years ago when I bleached my hair blonde and put punky streaks in it, and we'll just leave it at that because I think I need to change that picture to something more current, but that's another story. So DBT Path is where I host classes based on my own personal recovery and helping people. I have to this date hundreds of students literally from all around the world, all around the globe, who have been coming to my online classes and learning dialectical behavior therapy skills, getting support, and talking with me in the groups, which are live, they're online. And for those of you who are unable to attend live, it is available, the classes are available on recording to listen to after the fact. So you don't have to be, like, let's say you're in Australia or in the UK and it's just the time doesn't work for you, but you really want to be a part of this. That's how you would do it, is you would actually be able to view and listen to the recording and also access your homework in the online classroom. So I'm going to explain all of that. I'm basically going to go through this web page right here and then ask you guys, if you have any questions, please let me know and I'll answer them for you. If you have any questions that come up as I'm scrolling through, just type them in the box, and as soon as I go back to that screen, because I can't see your questions at this second, I will start answering them. So the way this works is it's going to be a weekly live online DBT program with me, and we're going to cover the Dialectical Behavior Therapy modules, the DBT modules. So the three that we're going to cover in depth are distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. So distress tolerance, I'll just read it off to you. So by the end of this section, you'll be able to recognize and better understand your impulsive behaviors and have a proven toolbox of strategies and skills to help reduce them significantly. And we'll go through effective strategies step by step together in the class. You and me, and also your peers from around the world who are going to be present in the live class setting as well. So the next one we'll do after we finish distress tolerance is we'll go on to emotion regulation. So by the end of this section, you'll be able to finally understand the role of emotions in your life, and you'll have a proven step-by-step system that can help you learn to manage emotional intensity and no longer be at the mercy of your emotions, which honestly is how I felt for a very long time, is that my emotions were controlling me and that I was at the mercy of them. And that is no longer the case. And that is my hope for you too. And that is what we focus on when we study emotion regulation skills. Then after that, once we've really laid down the groundwork and the foundation of doing your own inner work and dealing with how do I cope with distress, how do I handle urges, how do I handle, these things that come up inside of me that are really strong, how do I handle when the emotions really feel like they're just like off the scale. Once you have gotten those skills under your belt and you've been in practice, the next one we learn, and this is a really important one for so many of us for obvious reasons, is interpersonal effectiveness. And the reason I say this is because at the end of the day, what I've come to realize is the only thing that really matters in life, and I know it's a Jewel song too, is the relationships that we have with other people. And for so many of us who struggle with borderline personality disorder or traits or emotion regulation issues, there is this real disconnect. So I'm just going to come back on for a minute to talk to you guys about that, and then I'll go back to the video if I can figure out how to do this. How do I stop sharing my screen? Don't laugh at me, guys. Okay. Can you guys see me again? I just want to make sure before I. So one of the biggest things about having BPD or borderline personality disorder or traits or being a really emotionally sensitive person or anything like that that makes it so difficult is that we have this constant internal battle. Sorry about my. um, we have this constant internal battle of wanting desperately to be in connection with people and to have meaningful, deep, and lasting relationships, and not knowing how to do that, and repeatedly making the same types of mistakes and having the same types of things come up over and over again for us, to where we push people away and we do the exact opposite of what we want, which is to have those types of relationships. So that is why interpersonal effectiveness is so important. So I'll go back to that screen. Okay. Okay, so by the end of this section, you'll gain immensely valuable insight into what the roadblocks have been to you, creating and sustaining meaningful long-term relationships, including friendships, romantic partnership relationships, and connections in the workplace. You'll have a toolbox of proven skills that have helped many people with BPD and other emotion regulation issues finally have what they want most in life, relationships that matter. You will also learn tools for leaving those relationships that no longer serve you, sometimes referred to as toxic relationships. And then I know I have a mindfulness class that's self-paced starting in a few days, and that class is not affected by this, so that's a totally separate topic. But for people who enroll in this live DBT class that I'm talking about right now that starts in August, you'll also have a bonus, which is access to a free self-paced 4-week online course that covers the whole mindfulness module. And by the end of that class, you'll be able to understand how to finally break free of living in the past or constantly worrying about the future, which contributes a lot to emotion dysregulation, as I'm sure many of you can agree. And I also put in here that mindfulness is not some elusive state, it's a way of being available to you now. And this skill set has been proven to help so many emotionally sensitive people like you to find peace and live vibrant lives in the here and now. And it certainly helped me. So now I'm just going to go over what's included in the program so you can get a better idea of if this is something that would be a good fit for you. So it's weekly online DBT groups with me. And we meet for 90 minutes via a live private online meeting platform, which you'll get all the information to that after you register. And if you're unable to attend the live session for any reason, whether on a consistent basis or like on a given week something comes up with your child or with school or with work and so on, you don't have to worry because the class is recorded, and then you can watch and listen to the recording at your leisure during the week and get caught up. So you don't have to worry about that. In fact, most of my students from, for example, the UK, different parts of Europe also, and definitely from Australia, have been taking the class entirely by recording anyway. They never actually come to the live class. If you can come to the live class, I recommend it and would actually love to have you there, because then you get to ask questions in real time and so on. But if you can't, then this is still an option and a possibility for you. So the next thing is video lectures. So I've actually recorded a bunch of video lectures on each of the DBT skills that are taught in the course. Not every single one of them, but a good majority of them. So during the week, you'll also be watching video lectures discussing that. And we do homework from, and a lot of you guys have this workbook already, the Dialectical Behavior Therapy Skills Workbook. It's an excellent text, and also if you're looking for another book, it's not required for this class, but it's absolutely wonderful if you have BPD and you're trying to learn how to apply skills in mindfulness. It's called Mindfulness of Borderline Personality Disorder, so that's a recommended text. So in addition to coming to the live classes or reviewing the recordings each week, you're also going to have access to my online classroom it's on a website called Eliatomy. And that's where you'll actually watch your video lectures as well as submit your weekly homework assignments, because yes, you do have homework. And if you do a homework assignment and you want feedback and support around it and some ideas from myself and the group, all you have to do, and you'll get instructions for all of this, is send me a PDF or a scan of the homework that you did, so that we can put it up on the screen during class, and you can actually talk about it with me and your peers and say, this is how it went for me, and this was my experience, and we can all chime in and support you, and also give you feedback and answer questions and so on. So that is that portion of it. Now, here's the part that my students seem to love the most, in addition to the live meetings and recordings, is the peer support. So once you enroll in a class with me, you have access to what's called a secret private group. And I'm not just trying to say secret private to make it sound like I'm doing something special, because Facebook actually calls it that level, because when it's a secret private group, if you have any concerns about your privacy in terms of you don't want your connections on Facebook to know that you're doing something like this for your privacy, maybe you have coworkers or family members that you don't, want them to know your business, they won't even know that you're in the group. It's not like a closed group where it might say on the side, Sally is a member of this, soccer team group or something. It doesn't even show up on theirs, and none of your participation in the group shows up on anyone else's feed unless they're in the group too. So this has become a really safe place for people like yourself that are serious about working on the skills to actually come together, get support, talk about what's going on, encourage each other, ask questions. I pop in there pretty much daily during the week, and sometimes even on the weekends too, as my students will tell you. And so you'll have access to that right away after you sign up. So that's another support service for you. The other thing that was recently added for us here is that Amanda Smith, which many of you know her from Hope for BPD and also My Dialectical Life, or MDL. She is an awesome email subscription service with daily DBT skills. She recently became licensed and is a master of social work. She also overcame borderline personality disorder. She is amazeballs, if you don't mind me using the expression, but she's really, really awesome. And she has offered to me exclusively to my students, because she can't, be doing this for like tons and tons and tons of people outside of this right now because of her practice and other things going on. So exclusively to my students, she's offering DBT skills coaching. So let's say you need a bit more support than what can be delivered in the scope of my classes or with me as a peer, you'll have access to her. And she does 15-minute Skype or telephone conversations. You can be anywhere in the world. She also has an email option service where she'll actually reply to you by email. So, and there is a nominal fee that she charges. I don't make anything off of that. You actually pay her directly. It's $15 per time that you need to meet with her. But she provides that additional, professional assistance that you may be looking for that might be beyond the scope of the class or what I can provide as a peer. So that is an added option, but it's an add-on, and if you don't need it, you don't have to do it. And if you want it, you have it available to you. So far the feedback has been really good from my students in terms of their experience with her. So I'm really pleased with that. So the next round of classes with me begins on Monday, August 11th at it says PM in there twice, but 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11:59 p.m. London. As soon as one of my friends and followers from Australia tells me what time that will be in Australia, I'm getting that up there as well. And these are weekly classes. Here's the thing I'm going to talk to you guys about, and then I'll come back to this screen. Oops. Didn't mean to shut down your chat. Let's see. Maybe this is what I want, not a Q&A, but a chat. I'm going to open the chat box up. Okay. So, get my screen back up here. Okay. So this has been an issue for me for a long time, because the reason I got into teaching the skills and became so impassioned about it is because they actually changed my life. So I'm not becoming a millionaire off of this, but I will tell you that I devote so much time and energy into creating the classes, being in the classes, supporting my students, going into the Facebook group, going on into the homework assignments, all of this stuff, that I actually do so much with DBT Path that I quit the job that I was at a long time ago so that I could do this pretty much full time. So because of that, you know, and for other reasons, because I'm offering a lot, I do charge. And I know that, you know, some people take issue with that, but you know, this is a really excellent program. I'm giving a lot of value. I'm giving a lot of my time. So I do charge. That being said, I also have a lot of compassion for people who may not have, you know, all the resources in place to be able to access certain things. So I have come up with a sliding scale program so that it can be more accessible to more people, because I think that's important. So I will go back to the screen and share that with you. So what I'm asking people to do at this point is, for the sliding scale cost of attendance, is to please honestly pay what you can afford, because it's good karma and it allows me to offer this to more people who might be less fortunate than you and don't have you know, the funds, so that this can be something that even more people can access and can reach even more people. So it is a monthly fee, and the way it works is you can cancel it at any time. If you decide, you know, if there's a month that financially you're having trouble and you're like, I can't do it this month, Debbie, you know, you can go ahead and cancel it. That's no problem. Or if you know, if you find that the program isn't the best fit for you, my hope is that you will love it and it's going to help you and you're going to be trucking along. And so that's why it's a monthly fee. It's automatically rebilled. There are no refunds on any tuition you've already paid. But if you cancel before your next payment, then obviously that's going to work out in that way. So the different options I have right now are, you can do $97 a month if you're on the lower end of the sliding scale. The next level up is $107, and then there's $127, and then there's $147. So I'm on the honor system here, and I'm really trusting people to pay what they can honestly afford, and to really think about the value of this class. It is 90 minutes every week of a live DBT class and all of the other things that I mentioned. So that is it in a nutshell. And I will go to see if we have any questions. Now I don't know if you guys are able to use that chat box on the right, or if I need to go back to the Q&A. I don't see any questions in there, and that seems weird to me. Let me go back to Q&A. So the person who's under the name Meditation Guides, so now I hope you have a better understanding of how it works with the classes. And basically we go through distress tolerance for 12 weeks, and then we go through emotion regulation for 12 weeks, and then we go through interpersonal effectiveness for 12 weeks. And at the same time, you can do the free mindfulness class that will come with that if you enroll at your own pace. And that's a 4-week class that covers the mindfulness skills from a DBT perspective. If there's anything else coming. I'm going to put the chat box up. Will somebody try to type in it so I can see if it actually works? I'm going to try it test. It does work. So if you guys have any questions for me, again, anything about borderline personality disorder and BPD from my experience and also overcoming it, DBT in general, or the dbtpath.net program that starts next month. Now would be the time to ask me before I wrap this up if there aren't any questions. I'll give you guys a minute to see if there are any questions. Okay, there don't seem to be any questions. I'm going to double check the Q&A also. Again, I'm very new to Google Hangouts, so I don't want to assume that there's no questions and then find out that I'm totally missing something in another box here. Okay, so Meditations just asked this question, and again, he or she wants to know how long are the modules. So they are 12 weeks each, so 3 months approximately, because some months will land with having, 5 Mondays in them or something like that. But 12 weeks each, and it's just continuous that we'll meet together every week. Okay, you're welcome. I don't know if it's okay to say your name out loud, Miss Lady that begins with a D, but you're welcome. Okay, well, it seems like there aren't any more questions, so, oh, maybe there is. Something just popped up. No, there isn't. Okay, I'm going to put the chat box back up because it's a little easier for me to follow. So, as I'm wrapping up, if something else comes in, I'll answer you. But I just want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your day today on a Saturday, which is when this live broadcast is actually occurring, to be with me, to hear a little bit about my story with borderline personality disorder and dialectical behavior therapy, to get a little bit of an idea on why it is that I do what I do and how I do it and how I'm delivering it and how much I want to help you guys and all of that good stuff. I want to thank you for being here. I hope you will visit the website, and I'll type the link into the chat box. It's www.dbtpath.net. And then when you click on classes and then click on the weekly online DBT class, that's where you'll see that link to select your sliding scale level and sign up for the course, which I hope to see you in. It's in just a few weeks, and I'm looking forward to it, you guys. I can't even talk right now. I'm looking forward to it, you guys. Where I have to get stronger is being able to talk about this aspect of it with you. Because I love what I do. But some aspects of it are just like, okay, that's a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to get better at that. So thank you guys so much for being here with me today, and I hope I answered your questions. And visit me on there on dbtpath.net, and also, I have healingfrombpd.org, and connected from there are also Facebook and Twitter accounts associated with that blog, so you can also reach me that way and connect with me there. I'm also on Facebook under Debbie Corso if you want to connect on there as well. And Path has a Facebook page. I'm all over social media. So I will see you guys soon. And thank you again for spending time with me today. Talk to you later. Bye for now.